Good evening, N3 primetime viewers. Angie Russ here, lighting up your screen with the news we've been tracking. First up, Mark Meadows and his latest legal tangle. Is it justice or political theater? And President Biden takes a shocking U-turn on the Inflation Reduction Act. You'll want to hear this. Over in Texas, Congressman Ronny Jackson is caught in a high-tension showdown with law enforcement, all caught on body cam. Bud Light, their once celebrated status is fizzing out after a massive promotional misstep. But could a brewing empire heir bring them back? Lastly, Melania Trump remains the epitome of grace amidst political whirlwinds. But wait, there's more. Gary has a special guest in the studio today who will unravel the hidden applications of gold. Stay with us for our Prime Tweet segment where your voice shines, but don't miss looking at you spotlighting someone causing quite the buzz. Over to you, Gary, to unravel these stories.
Good evening, America. Tonight we're taking a hard look at stories that will inevitably shape the trajectory of this great nation. From economic choices that date back to the 70s to decisions that'll be made leading up to the upcoming elections, it's imperative we comprehend their relevance. Why? Because these choices, ladies and gentlemen, are akin to a ship's captain deciding the route to take during a storm. If he chooses poorly, the ship risks being lost to the tempest. And speaking of storms, the American financial ship has seen some turbulent waters over the decades, and since the 70s, our U.S. dollar's lost a staggering 85% of its value. Now, as elections loom, there is the looming specter of unchecked money printing and the tempest of inflation it can bring. But there is a beacon in the storm: gold, a precious metal that's historically proven to withstand inflationary waves. And with Noble Gold Investments, you're not just investing in gold, you're setting a course for steadier waters. And here is an offer that they are giving exclusively to Next News viewers because they're sponsors of this program. If you invest with them today, you will receive a free quarter-ounce gold standard coin. Just go to noblegoldinvestments.com or give them a call at 877-646-5347. And even if you're not investing, just call and say thanks, because they will certainly appreciate knowing that their money is going to support our efforts to help you. So be the captain of your own financial destiny. But before we set sail into the depth of these stories, Angie, tell us, what are anchoring down on this tonight's episode?
Thanks, Gary. Tonight's lineup is one you won't want to miss, America. Target faces a potential brand crisis with sales plummeting. Was the controversy surrounding their Pride collection to blame? And what does it tell us about the challenges big brands face in today's socio-political climate? Next, St. Paul's Lowertown neighborhood is on edge with crime rates surging and the city's response seemingly falling short. How does this reflect wider concerns about urban safety and policing? Now imagine being out of housing options for 60,000 migrants right here in New York City. That's the reality of our border crisis at home. Are sanctuary cities' policies sustainable? A shocking revelation on the Rust set puts Alec Baldwin back under the microscope. Could new evidence shift the narrative? And with wallets feeling the pinch, Senator Kennedy sheds light on the real impact of President Biden's economic policies on ordinary Americans. Each of these stories touches the very core of our daily lives, our safety, our economy, our values. Stay with us and find out why they matter to you. Gary, back to you for that special report.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's not every day we witness a masterstroke in the intricate game of political chess. But Mark Meadows may have just delivered. The former White House chief of staff is making waves in the legal arena. And trust me, you'll want to stay with us till the very end to understand why this could be a turning point, not just for him, but for Donald Trump in the entire narrative of the 2020 election challenge. And while the media circuit orbits around what they claim to be just another indictment, Meadows is quietly shifting the game board. And believe me, the repercussions will be huge. So what exactly is Meadows up to, and why does it matter? Stay tuned, because by the end of this report, you'll realize why you can't afford to miss our final thoughts. Now, we've been through it all before, haven't we? Accusations, indictments, and the ever-echoing cry of a political witch hunt, but this time things are different. Mark Meadows, alongside 18 other Trump allies, was indicted in connection to the efforts challenging the 2020 election results in Georgia. The charges? They involve the somewhat controversial Georgia RICO statute and allegedly soliciting an official to break their oath of office. But Meadows with a level of finesse, is not waiting in the shadows. Instead, he's taking charge, planning to move the entire case to federal court. And here's the kicker. He's asking for their dismissal. Watch.
Among those on the indictment, former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows. And today, he filed a motion to move the criminal charges against him to federal court. The indictment charges Meadows with one count of violating Georgia's RICO Act and solicitation of violation of oath by a public officer. That would be current Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger. The call on January 2nd. The filing argues Meadows has the right to change venues because the alleged criminal conduct all occurred during his tenure and as part of his service as Chief of Staff. His lawyers argue none of the allegations against Meadows is criminal.
Now, Meadows' attorneys have laid out clear and straightforward, and they've held a vital role, that he held a vital role as the White House Chief of Staff to then President of the United States. And given this role, his assistance to Trump during the election challenge was simply part of his duties. This isn't about politics. It's about understanding the nature of his job, and it's about fair play in the arena of justice. The ever-outspoken Trump, on his part, has vehemently responded, promising to unveil proof of election fraud. He seeks what he terms a complete exoneration. And if that wasn't enough, he contends that Willis's case is the mere part of a broader effort to derail his possible election victory. Now, where does this lead us? Enter Timothy Partlemore, a seasoned attorney and a beacon of criminal defense. His take on the situation: Meadows, he believes, will indeed succeed in transferring the Fulton County, Georgia case to federal court. Let's not forget, Meadows and many others have been indicted on charges related to the 2020 presidential election results in Georgia. And Partlemore, basing his insights on previous cases, emphasized the importance of this move. It's not about dodging justice, it's about ensuring it. And there's a stark contrast between Trump's New York case and the current Georgia one. The New York case circled around payments made to adult film actress Stormy Daniels. It didn't relate directly to Trump's official duties as president. However, the Georgia case does. It centered around actions taken during Trump's presidency and directly related to Meadows' role. Now, Partlemore, on his matter, noted the importance of expanding the jury pool and giving the case a fair trial outside of the confines of Fulton County. His critique of the RICO count in the indictment is that it's legally incompetent, suggesting that the case is better placed before a federal judge who can properly apply standards set by the Supreme Court for such cases. Another layer to consider here is the concept of continuity in RICO cases. The charge typically requires the alleged illegal enterprise to have continuous purpose and not just be an isolated incident. And let's be clear, this entire case revolves around a singular event, the 2020 election. Now, Partlemore wasn't alone in his views. Buddy Parker, an expert on RICO cases, echoed the sentiment, and given the charges against an officer of the United States, concepts of federalism now come into play. Meadows, in his position, has the right to require the case's transfer to the United States District Court. And then there's the curious matter of the Fulton County indictment itself, leaked online prematurely and riddled with errors. It paints a picture of hasty judgment and sloppy legal work. He emphasizes that the recklessness with the case, even in simple administrative aspects, showcases an overarching carelessness with the law. But we must not ignore the political implications. There's an underlying current of animosity in the political climate, and some see this indictment as a means of silencing Meadows and his colleagues, neutralizing political opponents through legal channels rather than the ballot box. And this is not just about Mark Meadows. It's emblematic of a larger and more troubling trend in American politics, the weaponization of the legal system to settle political scores. If the charge holds, what does it say about the state of our democracy? Where is the line between serving a president and being accused of criminally? And what is the cost of this circus? Well, the taxpayers. Millions of dollars will be spent. Resources will be stretched thin. And for what? To satisfy political vendettas? It's time to pause and ask ourselves if this is the path we want our country to tread. Are we willing to allow the justice system to become a battleground for political warfare? Or will we demand that it remains a sanctum for fair and impartial adjudication? In a land where justice is supposed to be blind, the case against Meadows and his co-defendants could set a precedent that lasts far beyond the Trump era. So we find ourselves at a crossroads, and the path we choose will define the American legal and political landscape for years to come. In the end, as Meadows fights this battle, he's not just defending himself, he's defending the integrity of our institutions and indeed the very fabric of our American republic. So what Mark Meadows is doing isn't just about him or Trump or even the election. It's about setting a precedent for justice, fairness, and the right to a proper trial. It's about recognizing that our political arenas shouldn't be weaponized. Instead, they should be places where justice, not political vendettas, prevail. Our institutions, the foundations of our republic, should not be manipulated for political gain or vendettas. It's essential we all understand the gravity of this move by Meadows. It's not just a legal maneuver, it's a stand against unfair indictments and a biased system. America deserves better, we deserve better, and as we watch this case unfold, let's hope it brings about not just justice for Meadows and Trump, but a renewed sense of fairness in our legal system. After all, that's the America we believe in and fight for every single day. From pride controversies to concerns over product designs, Target's latest financials tell a tale of miscalculated moves. Angie, take us through the numbers and the story behind them.
Target's second quarter sales have plunged by 5.4% year on year, with total revenue of $24.8 billion, marking a 4.9% decrease. Online sales took a hit too, declining by 10.5%. This significant drop is attributed to widespread criticism of its Pride collection, especially controversial items like the pronoun book and the bye-bye binary. Further controversy arose with the revelation that a designer from the Pride collection also designed products with satanic symbols. Facing security concerns for staff, some in-store Pride displays were relocated. Target's Chief Growth Officer, Christina Hennington, indicated they're reevaluating their approach. This setback mirrors challenges other companies face, such as Anheuser-Busch, highlighting the importance of understanding consumer sentiments. Dive deeper, get the whole story by tapping the link in our bio. And now for a deeper dive into the implication of President Biden's Inflation Reduction Act and its true intentions. Gary has all the details. Over to you, Gary.
Imagine a promise, a beacon of hope in troubled times. President Biden once claimed the Inflation Reduction Act would be our salvation, touting it as the strongest tool to rein in the spiraling inflation. But 1 year on, the commander-in-chief himself has shattered that illusion. As the nation grapples with mounting financial strain, the question arises, was the promise of the Inflation Reduction Act just smoke and mirrors? To say that the Biden administration is experiencing a lapse in memory would be putting it mildly. It wasn't long ago that President Biden himself touted the Inflation Reduction Act as the panacea for America's economic ailments. The president openly admitted last Thursday that the Inflation Reduction Act, a cornerstone of his economic strategy, wasn't truly about taming the roaring beast of inflation as he once had originally promised the American people. Instead, he confessed it was more about providing for alternatives that generate economic growth. A worthy cause, no doubt, but far from the picture he painted last year. Now, here's a point that Doug Rep. Shywalt wrote on Twitter. You can see, just 1 year after President Biden signed the so-called Inflation Reduction Act, he openly admits the bill didn't actually reduce inflation. And there's something more concerning. President Biden's recent comments contrast sharply with his statement from 2022. As Congress was considering the act, Biden tweeted that it would lower inflation, cut the deficit, reduce health care costs, tackle the climate crisis, and promote energy security. Now those promises sound like the promises of yesteryear, ringing hollow in the ears of many Americans who trusted those words. And here's what Biden urged Congress just yesterday.
The fact is that my message to Congress is this. This is the strongest bill you can pass to lower inflation, cut the deficit, reduce health care costs, tackle the climate crisis, and promote energy security. All the time while reducing the burdens facing working class and middle class families. So pass it. Pass it for the American people. Pass it for America.
Yes, it does feel like just yesterday we heard those words echo. But while Biden was peddling his Inflation Reduction Act just a year ago, what has happened since? The U.S. consumer credit card debt has toppled, $1 trillion for the first time ever. The dollar's downfall has been a staggering affair, losing a shocking 85% of its value since the 70s, when its ties with gold were severed. Now, with unchecked government spending and the looming threat of more money printing, we face the same challenge. The last major bout of money printing saw inflation shoot up 9%. When the foundations shake, gold remains the time-tested shield against inflation. And that's why Noble Gold Investments is your anchor in these turbulent times. With a trusted investment in gold, you'll also get a free 24-karat quarter-ounce gold standard coin. So head to noblegoldinvestments.com or dial 877-646-5347. It is the only gold company that I personally trust. Now back to the task at hand. Let's dive into the facts and uncover the truth about President Biden's economic claims in this era of misinformation, as the administration likes to call it. It's time to shine a light on the White House's very own set of misleading narratives, the so-called Inflation Reduction Act, and it's only the tip of the iceberg. So let's examine falsehood number one. As pointed out by the New York Times, wages and salaries are rising for American workers. While this was momentarily true in July, the longer-term picture tells a very different story. For 20 of the past 22 months, wages have trailed behind inflation. Despite wages and salaries increasing by about 12% since Biden took office, inflation has jumped by 15%. Factor in essential items, and the inflation rate rocks to an alarming 25%. The Heritage Foundation's economists provide a sobering analysis. The average family income has taken a hit of around $5,000 since Biden's inauguration. The typical household is now coughing up an extra $709 each month. And on to the big lie about jobs. President Biden claims the title of ultimate job creator, surpassing the likes of Reagan, Clinton, and Trump. But let's not forget context. A significant chunk of these new jobs were only making a comeback after disappearing during the pandemic's economic shutdown. Jobs bouncing back after businesses reopening shouldn't count as a new job created. So, had Donald Duck been president, those jobs would have been reappearing, right? But in case you didn't believe it, he did it. President Biden can prove it by shouting, though. Watch.
There is no quit in America. Name me a single objective we've ever set out to accomplish that we've failed on. Name me one in all of our history. Not one. It's never been a good bet to bet against America. And it's still not a good bet today. This is still a country that believes in honesty, decency, and integrity. We're still a country that believes in hard work. We're still a country that believes in each and every one of us is created equal. We've never fully lived up to it. We've never walked away from it. And I guarantee you we're still the beacon for the world. You ought to come with me to all these international meetings. Listen to the rest of the world, what they say to the President of the United States. Everyday ordinary people, every day get up and do extraordinary things. That's who we are. America's best days aren't behind us, they're ahead of us. This isn't about the past, it's about the future we're going to build. And I've never been more optimistic about America's future. Just remember who in God's name we are. We're the United States of America. And there's nothing beyond our capacity when we do it together. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you.
Oh, he's big mad right there. But of course, the claim of record domestic oil production is more smoke and mirrors too. Research by the University of Chicago economist Casey Mulligan reveals that Americans would be pumping out 2 million more barrels of oil a day if Trump's pro-energy policies remain in place. This lapse in domestic production is costing our economy $160 million every single day. Moreover, our strategic petroleum reserve is at its most depleted in 3 decades. Biden's repeated claim about reducing the budget deficit by 1.7 trillion defies the data. Over the last year, the deficit ballooned past $2 trillion, and the long-term picture is even grimmer, with debt projections $8 trillion higher than when Trump concluded his term. And finally, when Biden celebrated $3.39 a gallon, let's not forget the backdrop. Gas prices has significantly surged from the $2.49 per gallon when Trump left Today's price, $3.84 a gallon, means Americans are dishing out approximately $20 more every fill-up than during Trump's tenure. Biden's team has proven to be artisans at bending data to fit their narrative, but the real picture doesn't lie. It's clear why most polls indicate 2/3 of Americans believe our economy was healthier under Trump. The numbers, the realities, they all speak for themselves. For a government keen on battling misinformation, these revelations are indeed concerning. With inflation eating into the savings of hardworking Americans, honest and transparent leadership is more vital than ever. The Inflation Reduction Act was heralded as a solution to our economic woes. However, as Biden's own words now suggest, its efficiency remains questionable at best. The American people deserve more than fleeting promises. They deserve policies that deliver. The onus now lies on our leaders to ensure that the pledges made resonate not just in speeches, but in the real everyday lives of its citizens. Lowertown in St. Paul is sounding the alarm on rising crime rates, with the light rail becoming the hotbed for illicit activities. Angie, what is the latest on this escalating situation?
The rising crime rate in St. Paul's Lowertown neighborhood, Minnesota, has residents alarmed, with some even labeling the city as a garbage can. Residents cite drug use, public lewdness, and violent crimes, with the light rail trains and platforms emerging as primary areas of concern. This has intensified calls for increased transit police, especially during the non-event hours. The uptick in crime is further exacerbated by law enforcement challenges. St. Paul police find it hard to respond swiftly due to the surge in calls and staff shortages. St. Paul Deputy Police Chief Jack Searier notes dwindling recruitment and increased departures as contributing factors, mirroring issues seen in Minneapolis. Amidst this, residents yearn for a safer environment. Dive deeper, get the whole story by tapping the link in our bio. Congressman Ronny Jackson faced off with police at a Texas rodeo despite his noble intentions. Gary, what happened and how does this impact trust with law enforcement?
Imagine this, a Texas rodeo under the broad and free American sky where suddenly a crisis unfolds. A young woman is in desperate need of medical help. Now imagine a congressman, not just any congressman, but a former White House physician, rushing to her aid. What should be a story of swift action and care turns into a jarring scene of confrontation and handcuffs. Representative Ronny Jackson, trying to administer life-saving care, ends up face down, detained by law enforcement. It's a scene that would shock every American. And tonight we have the body cam footage, and let me tell you, it's more than unsettling. It's an alarm bell. What happened to Representative Ronny Jackson, a decorated Navy Rear Admiral, at the White Deer Rodeo near Amarillo, Texas, is something you need to see to believe. So stay with us, and you don't want to miss our final thoughts on this. So here's the setting. A Texas rodeo, a symbol of Americana, but this isn't just any night. There's a medical emergency. A young woman in distress. Enter Congressman Ronny Jackson, former White House physician, stepping in, trying to help. And instead of respect, instead of cooperation, what does he get? Handcuffs. An altercation with law enforcement at a rodeo event. It's almost beyond belief. Now, I warn you, the language you're about to see in this video may disturb you. So if you are sensitive, just skip ahead. Watch.
No, I asked you to get back. No, you did not. on.
ask you to get
You
back.
came in, you
I
flew
did.
in,
I
and
did.
you were a fucking full-on dick.
I did ask you to get back, and you did not get back.
I will take him home.
You better recalculate, motherfucker.
Multiple people
You
asked
better-
you to get back.
No,
I had to
nobody
step
asked
in.
me to get back,
Yes,
but
they
you.
did. This lady did.
No, she didn't.
Yes, she did.
We asked this right.
Everybody here asked you to get back. When somebody tells you to get back, you get
Nobody
back.
told me to get back.
I did. I had to tell you twice. I had to
No,
raise my
you told
voice
me.
the second
You
time.
rolled in and you freaking just
No.
like, get the fuck out.
No, I said get back. Nobody
You know what?
listened. I told
I'm
you
gonna
get back
call
a
the
second
governor
time.
tomorrow, and I'm gonna fucking talk to him about this shit, because this is fucking ridiculous,
Quit
man.
arguing. Okay.
Fucking ridiculous.
Ronnie, calm down. Hey, Cole. Who is that?
Someone said he's a senator.
Ronnie.
Congress CR.
I don't know. But when somebody tells them to get back, I have to say it 3 times.
I told him to get back too.
Yeah.
Okay, so y'all did?
We all told
We
him.
get it. Yeah.
All right.
Special thanks to the Texas Tribune for securing that footage. So you look at that. A congressman face down, detained. What does America come to when a man with medical training, a congressman, trying to help someone in need, is treated like a criminal? You can hear the disbelief and frustration in his voice as he confronts the officers. Passion and emotion, yes, but under the circumstances, who wouldn't be emotional? Now ask yourself, where's the accountability? A congressman publicly berates law enforcement. Is that not reason enough for national scrutiny? For an investigation of the sheriff's conduct? Jackson, a seasoned medical professional and politician with both military and White House experience, was offering his expertise during an emergency situation. Shouldn't that be welcome? Now let's put it in context. Our society is struggling. Over 73.6% of adults in this country are overweight. It's a staggering figure. A nation struggling to regain control. Like Jackson at the rodeo, it feels like we're fighting just to stand up to do what's right. That's why I suggest considering this natural supplement into your daily routine. It contains CLA designed to halt fat storage and promote fat breakdown. It's about taking control back, and you can learn more at trimwithgary.com. Now let's focus on the heart of the issue. This isn't just about a congressman. It's about the fundamental relationship between the American people and the authorities that have been sworn to protect them. Have we reached a point where those in positions of authority are so far removed from the rest of us they can't recognize help when they see it? And it's not just in Texas. It's symptomatic of a nationwide issue where law enforcement at times appears disconnected from the communities they serve. It's happening in small towns and big cities all across this great country. It's a worrying trend, and it's something that we must address. Representative Jackson hailed the release of the body cam footage in a tweet. The retired Navy Rear Admiral criticized Carson County law enforcement. He said, "We have the best sheriffs in the country here in the Panhandle in North Texas. Unfortunately, the sheriff in Carson County is not among them." He's putting a spotlight on what he perceives as a pervasive issue. However, Jackson didn't show a form of restraint that is notably absent in many public figures these days. He apologized for his choice of words, but not his actions. A life was potentially at stake, and he didn't hold back. His humanity didn't take a back seat, not for a moment. Yet the authorities were quick to restrain him. Why? Because he didn't wear a badge? Is the scene of a medical emergency really the place for a power struggle? That's a question we should all be asking. Now let's take a step back. Imagine if it were you or your child lying there in need of medical help. Would you want a trained physician offering their assistance pushed aside? When seconds matter in a medical crisis, is this really the time for heavy-handed authority? And here's what perhaps is the most alarming aspect of all of this. If this is happening to a congressman, a public figure whose detainment is caught on camera for all the world to see, what happens in the countless situations that go unnoticed and unrecorded? How many Americans have found themselves in a similar situation without the benefit of a public profile or a camera to capture it? In the end, Jackson stands as an embodiment of a much larger issue. He's the face of every American who ever felt overpowered and dismissed by those who are supposed to protect and serve. The nature of the medical emergency at White Deer Rodeo near Amarillo isn't clear, but what is crystal clear is that something went terribly wrong that day. A situation that should have been about immediate medical care became an aggressive altercation between a congressman and law enforcement. So we have to ask, how did we get here? And more importantly, how do we ensure that this does not keep happening? Because as it stands, this incident is not isolated. It's a stark symptom of a disease that is infecting the very soul of America. So tonight, we've seen a microcosm of a larger issue plaguing our nation. A congressman, a medical doctor, treated like a common criminal while trying to help a citizen in need. Think about it. This is a sitting U.S. congressman, a former White House doctor. If this can happen to him, what does it mean for the rest of us? We're living in a time where power is flexed too often and too aggressively, where doing the right thing can be met with handcuffs. This incident is a warning, America. It's a call to recognize the path that we're on. It's not about Texas. It's about every town and every city in this nation. It's about the very core of who we are as a people and what we must fiercely protect, our freedom, our rights, and our humanity. It's time to take a long, hard look at where we're headed. And Angie, with New York City reaching to accommodate nearly 60,000 migrants, what's the latest, and how are the local leaders responding there?
Amidst the ongoing border crisis, New York City faces challenges stemming from its sanctuary city policies. With rising numbers of migrants, the city struggles to find adequate housing, resorting to the controversial use of hotels and even considering locations near schools. Deputy Mayor Fabian Levy remarked on the dilemma. We're out of good options. Do you want people on the streets or on cots? The situation has intensified as the city now contends with accommodating approximately 60,000 migrants, 4 times the initial estimate. Proposals to utilize Fort Wadsworth on Staten Island have met strong opposition from local leadership. Critics argue that NYC's current policies exacerbate existing community strains, emphasizing the need for federal immigration reform. Dive deeper, get the whole story by tapping the link in our bio. Bud Light's branding misstep has led to a major crisis. Gary, with notable figures weighing in, how is this reshaping views on brand authenticity?
Imagine one of America's most iconic beer brands, Bud Light, facing a future where it might never bounce back. We're not talking about a small stumble, folks. This is a brand facing a catastrophic nosedive, losing its esteemed #1 spot. Today, we bring you a detailed look into the shocking decline of Bud Light and the controversy that ignited this decline. We'll explore what the experts are saying now about its potential recovery and what the proud Bush family feels about it all. And believe me, by the end, you do not want to miss our final thought that puts it all into perspective for every American watching. Bud Light, once a name that echoed in every sports bar, every backyard barbecue, and every American celebration, is now grappling with numbers that spell out its doom. 2 top market analysts having run the warning bells. As per RBC Capital market analyst James Jones, the forecast for Bud Light's recovery is unfortunately looking bleak this year. Recent sales data has thrown a dark shadow over the brand. Retail sales saw a plummet of over 26% in 2 consecutive weeks in July, but what really sounded the alarm was Bud Light losing its precious #1 spot to Modelo Especial. Robert Ottenstein from Evercore ISI has painted a similar grim picture, and according to his data, Bud Light's sales have stabilized all right, but at a much lower level than before the controversy stirred the waters. And what is this controversy we speak of? Well, here's the kicker. The beer giant made a promotional package associated with the TikTok activists. In the aftermath, a major backlash and consequential nosedive in sales. Their silence on the issue further fueled discontent. Bud Light's U.S. chief executive even stated they never intended to become part of such a divisive debate, while the CEO of AB InBev, Michael Ducaris, has tried to distance himself from the brand, assuring that it was a single post and not an advertisement. The damage appears to be done, and he's pointing fingers at social media, misinformation, and confusion. But the question on everyone's lips, is that enough? Now here's where it gets even more intriguing. Picture this. An executive at Anheuser-Busch, tossing and turning in bed, haunted by the plummeting sales figures of Bud Light. The dreams of regaining the brand's past glories seem to be slipping away like sand through their fingers. But you know who doesn't lose sleep? Mike Lindell, the mastermind behind MyPillow. And just like he continues his unwavering fight for truth, his products guarantee comfort for all. And for all of our faithful viewers, we've got an irresistible offer. Drift into peaceful slumber faster, stay in dreamland longer, all thanks to the Giza Dream Sheets and Mattress Topper. It's like sleeping on a cloud. So get the best sleep of your life and enjoy up to 66% off with promo code NNN Dive into comfort at sleepwithgary.com or by tapping more below the video. Resuming our narrative, despite the turbulence, Bud Light's parent company isn't backing down without a fight. Ducaris announced plans to triple investments in Bud Light over the summer, but as Bump Williams, president of Bump Williams Consulting, points out, simply throwing money at the problem might not be the solution. The damage to brand loyalty is profound, with Williams stating that, quote, the Bud Light shopper who's left the brand has zero interest in coming back. However, it's not all bleak. A recent Deutsche Bank survey showed a potential silver lining. The proportion of consumers avoiding Bud Light dropped from 21% to 19%. Additionally, those very unlikely to purchase Bud Light in the coming months reduced significantly from 18 to 3%. Still, Bud Light's challenges remain monumental. AB InBev's U.S. revenue sank by a staggering 10% in the second quarter. We're talking about a staggering $395 million downfall in North America alone. The subsequent days saw the company parting ways with 8 of its craft beer brands, a move many speculate is an effort to salvage what remains. And now for the dramatic twist. Billy Bush, the Anheuser-Busch heir in the middle of the storm, has made an audacious statement. If Anheuser-Busch InBev is even thinking of offloading Bud Light, he's ready to reclaim it, and his promise will make that brand great again. It's a bold proclamation, echoing the nostalgia of the days of when the Bush family was at the helm. Watch.
Final question for you, sir, as we put the book back up. The family reigns, the cover, it's beautiful. The imagery is beautiful. The Clydesdales out front. Is this your father on the front of the book?
Yes, it is.
All right. Is there any chance of you getting this company back? We'd sure like that. We'd sure like that. Can I help you buy some shares?
Oh, you know what? I'll tell you, if I know Anheuser-Busch InBev just sold off 8 different brands.
Yes.
And if they ever decide to sell the Bud Light brand, they could sell it to me. I'd sure as heck try to pull some people together and buy that brand, because I think we can make Bud Light great again.
Yes. God bless you. I mean, truly. Why?
And Mr. Bush didn't hold back in his critique. He feels the present leadership at AB InBev might be out of sync with the core of American values and consumers, and according to him, relying on young woke marketers could be the company's Achilles heel. Prominent figures, including Kid Rock and former President Donald Trump, have shared their thoughts on the matter. Their verdict? A sign of left-wing radicals pushing an agenda. So the Bud Light saga isn't just a tale of a brand's decline. It's a mirror to the larger socio-cultural forces at play in America today. It's about understanding core values, knowing your audience, and the profound repercussions when a brand loses touch with its base. Bud Light's crisis should be a wake-up call for all American businesses. Tread with caution, for the power of the consumer voice is unparalleled. Today it's Bud Light. Tomorrow any brand could find itself at the crossroads, forced to introspect and possibly reinvent. So to every American watching, this stories matter because at the heart of it, it isn't just about a beer. It's about the choices we make, the voices we support, and the legacy we leave behind for the brands we once held close to our hearts. Remember, in the land of the free, consumers always have the last word. Now, the Rust tragedy takes a twist with new forensic evidence challenging Baldwin's account. Angie, could this mean fresh legal woes for the actor?
Alec Baldwin's claim of an accidental gun discharge on the Rust set is contradicted by a new forensic analysis. The recent study led by Lucien Hagg reveals the trigger had to be pulled to fire, challenging Baldwin's narrative. This could reopen legal battles for Baldwin, who was cleared of involuntary manslaughter charges earlier this year. Weapons supervisor Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, previously accused of safety lapses leading to cinematographer Helena Hutchins' death, may also face further scrutiny. As experts challenge Baldwin's account, the question arises, will charges be refiled against him? Dive deeper, get the whole story by tapping the link in our bio. Amidst the political storm surrounding the former president, Melania Trump stands poised in silence. Gary, could her reserved demeanor be her strongest statement yet?
While the political world simmers in the endless legal woes of former President Donald Trump, his wife Melania remains an island of cool indifference in the heart of New York City. Is this the same woman who, in the midst of public controversy, wore a jacket that brazenly declared, "I really don't care, do you?" Now, as her husband faces his fourth indictment, Melania sends a clear message. It's Donald's issue, not hers. Tonight we delve into Melania's Big Apple summer. We decode her silence and ask the critical question: is the former First Lady's low profile a masterstroke of support or an elegant act of distancing? This is more than a family affair. It's a glimpse into the essence of American resilience. Stay with us through this special report. Our final thought is one you don't want to miss. In an American summer where political fires are raging, Melania Trump is a picture of icy tranquility. As indictment documents pile up around the former president, Melania's stance remains steadfast. She says, "This is Donald's problem, not mine." That's what she seems to say, all while savoring a private lifestyle in the urban sanctuary of New York City. In a world where politicians wear their emotions as badges, Melania Trump's tight-lipped grace is a striking departure. Now, People magazine recently unveiled Melania's perspective. Each indictment against her husband is merely a ripple in her placid pond. She spent her summer treading lightly through New York, far from the fear of courtrooms and campaign trails. The scrutiny of the press? She wants none of it. Quote, she hates all the legal problems and says very little about them anytime, anywhere. That's according to an inside source who has revealed that. Like a seasoned diplomat, she's navigating these fraught waters with remarkable poise. As Melania may brush off this fourth indictment, it's crucial to understand a stark reality. When a crisis erupts, either natural, political, or economic, the script is tossed out the window. And that's why you shouldn't brush off an emergency in your own life. And right now, My Patriot Supply is offering over a 25% discount on the 3-month emergency food kit. To protect your family, 1 kit per person, visit preparewithgary.com right now to seize your 25% discount. But back to Melania. Does her composed silence echo that famous green coat statement from 2018? The stakes were different then, but the message seems consistent. She marches to her own beat, unfazed by external chaos. While Trump navigates legal quagmire stretching from Florida to D.C., Melania's focus seems elsewhere. She's been spotted dining at Bedminster, prioritizing her beloved Trump Tower residence over resorts, and maintaining a tight, trusted circle, eschewing the fair-weather friends that often plague political families. And now this is not about marital discord or separation. Insiders assert that Melania, in her uniquely stoic way, remains supportive. Quote, she knows how her husband is, but believes there's been excessive dumping on him and she wants no part of it. That's according to one source. So let's set the stage. Trump's recent Georgia indictment threatens more than 70 years of imprisonment. Charged alongside 18 others, this isn't a trivial courtroom skirmish. It's a seismic legal event. Yet in this tumultuous scenario, Melania Trump seems steadfast and even serene. Her silence is a stark counterpoint to the cacophony surrounding the Trump legacy. When even the former president's staunchest allies are becoming embroiled in charges, Melania's refusal to enter the fray stands as an intriguing divergence. To an outsider, Melania's aloofness might be misconstrued as indifference. In reality, it's an admirable show of resilience and independence. So here's a woman at the epicenter of one of the most tumultuous political periods in recent history, and yet she has emerged, in many ways, as the eye of the storm. So what is it about Melania's calm demeanor that is so unsettling to the media and the political establishment? Perhaps it's because she doesn't fit their narrative. She's a first lady who navigates scandal and scrutiny not with public displays of emotion, but with a dignified silence. In this age of incessant social media chatter, such restraint is nothing short of revolutionary. And recent reports have illustrated how Melania has chosen her son and a select few trusted friends over constant media exposure. Unlike others in her husband's orbit, she doesn't rely on public opinion to guide her daily life. Melania's parents, who've also been spotted in New York, are part of this tight-knit support system. All this paints a picture of a woman who is completely in control. In the face of adversity, she's not only standing firm, but is also protecting her own peace, a feat that seems almost superhuman given the circumstances. It's also significant to highlight Melania's choice of location. New York City is her chosen sanctuary, far from Washington's political theater and Florida's Mar-a-Lago, which buzzes with Trump supporters and political allies. It sends a powerful message. And she's her own person, living on her own terms. To further put things in perspective, consider the legal maelstrom surrounding Donald Trump. From the alleged hush money payments related to Stormy Daniels to handling of classified documents and even election interference allegations, Trump is under an enormous amount of pressure. Legal experts suggest that his recent indictments could result in a lengthy prison sentence. Yet amidst this legal conflagration, Melania remains cool, unruffled, and discreetly supportive of her husband. There's no playbook for how to navigate life when your spouse is at the center of a political and legal whirlwind. Melania's strategy has been to prioritize her privacy and that of her son Barron, avoiding unnecessary drama and remaining above the fray. She's not giving the hungry media the emotional reaction they're desperately craving. Instead, she's offering a masterclass in grace and stoicism. This isn't to say that Melania's silence is without its critics. Detractors argue that she's obliged to speak out, to clarify her stance explicitly. But in a world where words are often twisted to fit preconceived narratives, Melania's silence might be the most powerful statement she can make. So as America watches, waits, and speculates, Melania Trump continues her life with a measured grace that defies the relentless turbulence around her. This isn't avoidance, it's strategy, it's strength, and it's survival. It's Melania Trump's silent statement to the world, and it is deafening. So why should you, the American people, care about Melania's silence? Here's why. In the landscape of endless Twitter tirades and public outcries, Melania's calculated reserve is a lesson in fortitude. It's a compelling reminder that in America, we are not defined by our partners' battles, but by our grace under pressure. As indictments unfold and political storms rage, Melania Trump has quietly presented a masterclass in retaining personal dignity amidst public chaos. She reflects a time-honored American virtue, steadfastness, and resilience. In an era marked by noise and agitation, Melania Trump's choice to remain poised and silent is a statement that resonates. It's a sound that carries a message of strength, stoicism, and the American spirit of enduring adversity with grace. In these turbulent times, that is a lesson we could all stand to remember. Let's check back with Angie for more details on her next story.
Despite a slight decline in inflation, Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana stresses the lingering effects of President Biden's economic policies on Americans. With costs soaring since Biden's tenure began, households face an additional $700 monthly burden, summing to an annual strain of $9,000. The dip in inflation rate still indicates rising prices, albeit more slowly. Kennedy brands this inflation as an attack on the American dream, attributing it to the administration's fiscal missteps. Mounting frustrations are evident as citizens deal with economic strain, pointing to the need for urgent administration action. Kennedy underscores the government's accountability in these trying times. Dive deeper, get the whole story by tapping the link in our bio.
And now we got something special for you on N3 Primetime, our very first special guest who is going to disclose the contents of this box during this interview. Now, we often associate gold with opulent jewelry or as a safe haven for investors, but the golden truth is much more intriguing. And tonight we're exploring gold's role beyond the bangles and bars, delving into its expanding use in various sectors from medicine to tech. Colin Plume from Noble Gold is going to shed light on the current and future applications of this precious metal and how they could potentially impact its demand, price, and availability. So dive into this golden journey with us. Colin, it's great to have you back on the Next News Network.
It's great to be here, and even better to be here in person.
No, it's absolutely great. And this is the first interview we've done in studio, having an in-studio guest on this program. So you're going to break the mold today.
Thank you.
So gold has so many different properties, okay? Jewelry, as we said. But there was one topic that, as I was doing the research for the show, nanoparticles in medicine, nanomedicine, okay? This apparently has been gaining traction, especially for targeted drug delivery. I'm really curious as to how gold is going to be applied with drug delivery. But what can you tell us about that and how you see it actually impacting gold's demand and price?
Well, in terms of nanoparticles, they've been using it in cancer research for many years, and it's gaining a lot of traction because of the uses of gold are so widespread. People like the idea of using this. It's safer. They're using it in hospitals. Obviously there's people can eat gold. I don't recommend it. It's not the best use of it, but you can use this gold in so many different things in medicine today that you weren't able to use it in the past. And it's gaining a lot of traction. So on the industrial side, gold is seeing more usage than we've seen in many years.
Now, what about pregnancy tests? This is something I was not aware of, but apparently gold in diagnostics. How significant is this demand in the global gold market?
It's pretty significant. I think ultimately what it comes down to, the hard part about getting enough gold for all of these uses is like, how do you find it? There's only enough gold in the world. The supply grows by 1 to 1.25% a year. So that's always an issue. But they are using it in pregnancy tests. They're starting to test it in more markets there. A lot of it comes back to what I said before, safety for people taking these tests, cancer research, things of that nature. They want to make sure that it's a metal that is going to be safe for the body.
Now, obviously, we know that gold is used in dental fillings, but with the advent of alternative materials, do you see a decrease in demand in the dental market?
I have seen it drop a little bit in the dental market. I've actually we have a lot of clients that are dentists, and they talk about it. It's not is used as much. First of all, I think just the look of it, there's a lot of people that don't prefer that look anymore, so they're going in a different direction. So that is one usage that I think has dropped in terms of gold.
Well, Colin, I have to beg to differ. Have you seen some of the rappers' teeth lately?
I have seen that. I don't know if that's for any dental procedure, and I don't know if that actually helps. I wouldn't recommend, if you're looking for an investment, to put it in your teeth.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, if we suddenly have an explosion of TikTok rappers who are getting gold grills, it could have a significant impact on the gold market. No?
Yeah, I mean, listen, there is someone making those grills. They're very happy to put it in. I think people would be surprised how little actual gold there is in those grills.
Really?
I've seen it. I've talked to people about it. It just has to look like gold. So again, for investment purposes, I'd say keep gold out of your teeth.
Keep gold out of your teeth. Now, speaking of, TikTok, social media, technology, electronics, of course, the electronics industry has consistently relied on gold. Years ago, I used to actually try to recycle gold from cell phones.
Right.
A very difficult process. I have to say, I wasn't successful at it. Probably did more damage to my body than I wanted to at the time. But given the tech surge, do you expect an upward trajectory in gold's demand?
Well, I would say in cell phones is one of the consistent demands. There's certain sectors that are always going to ebb and flow, but cell phones aren't going anywhere. Billions and billions and billions of cell phones every year. The demand continues to grow. And as you said, it isn't that easy to pull the gold out, which obviously means there's going to be more usage. They're going to need more gold. It may not be cost effective for them to actually pull gold out of a cell phone. So once again, this is another usage that's going to continue to grow. It's going to continue to be around, and that's obviously going to help with the price.
What about with the increase of, you have, when I think about Silicon Valley, I think about all the processors that are required to run websites like YouTube and Facebook, and the graphics cards for gaming, the explosion of AI and the amount of processing power that's required.
Absolutely.
How much of an impact does gold have in that market, and how much is it required?
Well, and I think this is the thing that everybody talks about when they look at the price. And the gold price today, we're sitting around the 1900, just below 1900, which is pretty amazing considering inflation in almost any other product out there has really skyrocketed, but we haven't seen that big move in gold. So I think a lot of it, when you look at it, is right now they're going to continue to use it in a lot of these sectors, aerospace, medicine, but we're looking at potentially gold price. There's been a number of publications that they believe that gold's going to hit 2,300, 2,400, 2,500. There will be a price point eventually where it'll probably be too expensive to use gold in some of these items. The problem is that what other metal can do what gold can? It's so unique in so many materials, and that's why it's been used for so many years, so many thousands of years. So it is quite a unique metal. Jewelry is what a lot of people think about when they talk about gold, but it's just the tip of the iceberg in terms of all the uses for the yellow metal.
So are there any alternatives, though, that they could use in those sectors besides gold, or is gold really just the only thing?
Not right now. I mean, right now they talk about there's other metals that are having alternatives. In the catalytic converter industry, for instance, they were using palladium, and then palladium rose above $3,000 an ounce, $3,400 an ounce. So they started to use platinum to sort of replace that, and now you're seeing the price of platinum potentially. Most people think $1,400 this year for platinum, but right now most of these gold uses are it's the only metal that can do it. Eventually, I'm sure they'll have to find another metal to do it, but right now, gold is there's about 20 industries that really need gold, and there's nothing to replace it.
You bring up catalytic converters. Man, people are stealing those things left and right all over the country.
Yeah.
For the value. I mean, how does that even work? How do they put this? I mean, you're in the precious metals business. I'm sure you have an angle on getting those precious metals as well, not just gold. So how does that metal work into these catalytic converters? And then how do they go ahead and sell these things and get the money out of it?
Yeah, so there's palladium in catalytic converters, and as we know, palladium price did break over $3,000 an ounce. It is in the mid $1,400-$1,500 range right now, so it's a little bit lower than where it once was. But those catalytic converters have a lot of different types of metal. They're expensive, they're easy to resell, so it has been a target for theft, unfortunately. Similar to what's happened in copper pipes, you see a lot of theft in those areas. People are dealing with that in a lot of different capacities. I mean, obviously theft, across the globe has been skyrocketing. A lot of people have been seeing these videos of thieves in San Francisco and all over just breaking into cars and stealing things. But these quick, easy thefts of catalytic converters have been a really big problem for car manufacturers, for insurance companies, for consumers, just because there's so much value in such a small item.
Now going into aerospace, because that's obviously, you mentioned that it's a niche sector for gold. So how does it incorporate into space exploration and play into the overall market dynamics? Yeah,
well, us getting to Mars and having the capability to do that, which obviously a lot of these space programs have been talking about doing, there is a gold component to a lot of these types of vehicles that need to go out into really far spots in space. So we're seeing things like the Moxie and different types of these vehicles that have a gold part of it. And so that's a continued usage. And it's not a usage that people talk about every day, but as we continue to go farther and farther into space and we need more of this exploration going on, gold will play a part in that.
Now, what about gold, for greener industrial processes?
Mm-hmm.
Could this be a significant market mover? I mean, everyone's talking about going green, and Biden constantly changing, trying to shift the industry away from fossil fuels.
Right.
So is that going to have an impact?
It will. I would say silver also is a great metal when you're talking about a lot of the EV movement and what's happening there. A lot of those components require silver. So it's quite interesting that these two metals that are sort of overlooked. I mean, gold is looked at a lot because it's shiny and all of the components to it and jewelry. But really, when you look at the fundamentals of some of these metals that we sell at Noble Gold Investments, they are important to the future. They're also important to keep costs down. As we've seen inflation last year at 9%, everybody's looking for a way to keep our costs, to keep production down to a more reasonable level. So I think gold and silver are going to play a big part of our future.
Now, what about glass production? That's an intriguing consideration. How does gold play into that?
Yeah, they are using it more and more. It's more in the test phase for glass production. They haven't moved it all the way through production, but it does seem like going forward, it could be a big part of the future of where gold is going.
So how does this play into your business model when you look at all of these sectors and the products that you offer to viewers like Next News Network?
Well, I think what it is when you look at gold, people forget that you have these three massive sectors. You have the industrial use, which we just talked about. You have central banks buying it in droves and holding on to it. And then you have it is basically an antithesis to the dollar. So you have these three special uses of the yellow metal. And that's why I think, where it's priced at today, with all the demand, with all the inflation that's going on, that's why we think it's a great metal to have as part of anybody's portfolio.
Now, what about the wearables market? We're seeing more smartwatches. We're seeing people with earbuds. Obviously, the smartphones are another aspect. It's a big technology trend.
Yeah.
Of course, automotive sectors, we touched on that briefly. There's just massive versatility in gold. How does this diversify the market appeal?
Yeah, and I think that's where we're going. I mean, everybody for the most part is wearing a smartwatch, maybe except for me. People love having this capability to know what they're doing at all times. So having it, whether it's in the phone, they have some gold, or in the smartwatch, all of these uses are going to continue to grow, and it's going to continue to get better over time.
Now, what about radiation therapy? Rheumatoid arthritis treatment is...
a lot of people have seen, the sleeves that they're using, that they have copper. There's also a gold component there. I mean, everybody that's getting older and the average age of humans on the planet is skyrocketing. I think that as we get older, people will start to use those on a lot of those different wraps and things that they're using to keep their body in line and keep their body moving. So I do think it's a big part of future applications.
Okay, so bring this all home for us. Considering all these diverse applications, where do you see the most growth potential for gold demand? And when it comes to people's investments, because that's what people are doing, they're buying gold from you at Noble Gold Investments, how does all this play in?
Well, I think the most important usage that we talked about over the 20 different uses that we discussed, really the nanoparticle and how it's being used in cancer research and heart monitors is probably the biggest potential use. If they continue to use it in that sector, that could be, we're just talking about the amount of ounces that they would need would be astronomical. So you look at that, just that one use and go, okay, there's potential there. Then you look at the cell phone usage, which kind of gives it that consistent use over time. People will continue to obviously have new cell phones. They'll need them. There's gold in all of those. So you have all these industrial uses that are happening, and in a lot of sectors, it can't be replaced. And that's why I think a lot of people have overlooked gold, surprisingly where the price is today. I think it's sort of shocking in terms of where the value is. So in terms of long term, I think you have to look at it and go, it's an industrial metal. We need it. It's looking good. And then obviously on the other side of it is you're seeing a lot of people that are moving away from the dollar, the BRIC nations, all of these countries that don't want to have the dollar. They don't want to have U.S. Treasury bonds anymore. And they're moving to gold. So you have these big net countries buying gold. And then you have all these net buyers that are obviously all the industrial uses. So I think we're getting prepared for a potential bull run. And I think it's quite exciting. So I think that people, if you've never looked at it, they should give it a shot and learn about gold, get a free guide, and learn about all the potential uses.
Colin, we did it. The first interview on N3 Primetime.
Thank you, Gary. Appreciate it.
Colin, we look forward to having you back. We do appreciate your sponsorship of this program. Everyone watching, make sure you go to noblegoldinvestments.com or Next News Gold, because without Colin, we wouldn't have a show, okay? It's 877-646-5347. You know what, Colin? I didn't do something. You know what I didn't do?
I think you forgot.
I forgot
to show
about
the
box, Colin.
What's in the box?
What's in the box, Colin?
Yeah, it's quite fun. In Noble Gold Investments, we really focus on bullion items, bullion coins and bars, because that gets you the most bang for your buck, the most value as an investor. If you're putting gold in an IRA, you need to buy bullion products. But I do also like to talk about having something rare, something numismatic. And so what I brought is it's a coin from the Ship of Gold. And that coin, it's just an astonishing show of how gold can survive in so many different elements. That gold was in the ocean for 160 years. And if you look at that piece of gold, it's still in incredible shape. I mean, there's gold coins today that were in circulation that would look much worse than that. And that coin was at the bottom of the ocean. And they found the shipwreck about 20 years ago, and they sell those coins. So from time to time, people will call and go, hey, I want something unique. I want something interesting. They only brought 3,154 of those gold coins back up from the ship. So there's not a lot of them out there. That one that I have right there is a beautiful example, the one that you're holding. So from time to time, I like to show something that's rare and different and beautiful, and talk about really the unique capabilities of gold and how it can survive under so many different situations, which is, a lot of what we discussed today about in terms of the industrial uses. So it's just a fun, interesting coin. And it's something there that if people are interested and they are interested in that type of rare coin, they can always call us and we can help them find a piece.
Okay, so we have this 5-ounce gold piece of bullion here,
right?
And then we have this gold coin.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, this has numismatic value,
correct? Yes, correct.
And then this has raw value,
right?
To the investor, how do they choose?
Yeah, I mean, I think bullion is always the way. You always want to go bullion first. Anytime you start a portfolio, you want bullion coins, bullion bars. That bullion bar right there is going to get you the most. That's where you want to start. Once you built a portfolio and you go, okay, I want to get something interesting. Maybe I want to give something to my grandkids or my kids, and you have the availability, you have the cash to do it. That's when you want to start dabbling into numismatics. And there's obviously a lot of different types of numismatics. You definitely want to make sure you go with an expert that knows what a rare coin is and what's actually rare. But I would say start with bullion, and then once you build up a portfolio like myself and yourself, then you'd want to dive into some of the rarities there and get some things that, that coin will be a coin that eventually I'll give to whichever kid I like the most later on in life.
Well, this is certainly a beautiful piece, and I'm really glad you brought it to the studio today. You were showing this to me earlier, and I was just blown away at the minting on this is so sharp, and to think that this has been at the bottom of the ocean, for over 100 years is just astonishing, and it's just absolutely beautiful. So, thank you for bringing this in as a specimen of what people can expect from Noble Gold Investments, and especially for your donation of this.
Oh, wait a minute!
Gold piece. Hey, I gotta try, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Colin. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Gary.
Now it's time for one of our favorite segments, Prime Tweets. Last night we posed an intriguing question to our viewers on social media. How do the recent controversies surrounding Mark Meadows' indictment, Biden's Inflation Reduction Act revelations, Ronny Jackson's intervention at a Texas rodeo, Bud Light's branding crisis, and Melania Trump's dignified response to her husband's legal troubles reflect the evolving political, economic, and cultural narratives in America? Well, we received a whirlwind of responses, and here are some that stood out. Triana says, I pray that the Biden crime family will be prosecuted. The truth is out now. We need strong people to carry out the real law, not the ones they make up. Well, Trina, many share your sentiment. It's clear that the search for truth and justice is more important than ever. And then we have Jenna, who firmly states, regardless of what they do, I still will vote for Donald J. Trump. Loyalty is strong amid Trump's base, clearly, and many believe in his leadership despite the waves of controversies. And Just Me KPC weighs in with, it's nice to have a president who just does his job and has kept us out of recession. Dark Brandon does his job and doesn't need ego-boosting pom-pom rallies like Trump did for his fragile ego. While we appreciate diverse viewpoints, it's important to note that every president has a unique leadership style, and what works for one may not work for another, but we know that Trump gets the work done. That's what matters. Kristen offers a fiery take, asserting the Democrat domestic terrorist organization is in full swing. Strong words, Kristen. It's evident that emotions are running high, and there's a palpable sense of division in this country. And then James chimes in with his spirited MAGA 3, save the world. Well, James, that's a call to action if I've ever heard one. The MAGA movement is alive and strong. Thank you to everyone who shared their thoughts on Prime tweets. Engaging in the national conversation is crucial, especially in such unprecedented times. Now, shifting gears to a lighter yet equally compelling segment, Looking at You. Tonight we'll spotlight a politician who might have wished cameras weren't rolling during a particular moment. And now for Looking at You, where sometimes less is definitely more. It seems the sun, sand, and aloha spirit of Hawaii left President Biden a little short on words. Watch.
Can you tell us about your Hawaii trip, sir?
No, not now. I'm going to be leaving. I'll be there on Monday.
Why is it important that you go?
Thank you.
Sir, I'm a fan.
Wow. A disaster visit typically warrants more than a one-word response, wouldn't you think? Hawaii, with its vibrant culture and resilient spirit, deserves some reflection, perhaps some reassurance, but it seems the president wasn't in the sharing mood. Makes us wonder, why? Why? Nothing. Nothing to say. Anyway, to our viewers, it's always crucial for leaders to communicate effectively, especially in times of adversity. What are your thoughts on his concise response? And we're looking at you, Joe Biden. As we wrap up tonight, America, let's take a moment to reflect on the stories that have graced our screens. The indictment of Mark Meadows and 18 other Trump allies isn't just a legal entanglement, it's a mirror reflecting deep-seated political divides and the lengths some might go to neutralize their opponents. President Biden's Inflation Reduction Act and its clarifications are a potent reminder that clarity, honesty, and transparency should be the forefront of any leadership. And in Texas, Congressman Jackson's encounter with law enforcement is a microcosm of the challenges plaguing community police relations nationwide. Are we placing procedure over humanity? Meanwhile, Bud Light's faltering is a lesson for brands about understanding their audience and the perils of straying too far from core values. And through the political maelstrom surrounding the Trump family, Melania's poise amidst chaos offers a lesson on personal resilience. These stories, each in their unique way, shape the fabric of our nation. They matter because they remind us of the need for truth, trust, and tenacity. And above it all, the importance of keeping the American spirit alive. That's a wrap on today's show, America. First, a huge shout out to Angie for her insightful news briefs tonight. Your engagement in live chat has been inspiring, and it's a pleasure to share this dialogue with each of you. Navigating the complex waters of our nation's news, much like safeguarding our financial future amidst economic uncertainties, just as we've seen shifts in political culture and the economy tonight, the value of the U.S. dollar has shifted since the 70s. But there is a beacon of stability. I'm talking about gold. It's a testament to the lasting power of authentic value in fluctuating times. And I'm grateful to our sponsor, Noble Gold Investments, and to Colin for joining us tonight, because now they're extending an exclusive offer to our viewers, a free quarter-ounce gold standard coin, a tangible symbol of reliability in uncertain times. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com or ring 877-646-5347. Even if you're not going to call to invest, just call to say thank you for sponsoring this program. It's a golden choice that I personally trust. And thank you for entrusting us with your time and attention tonight. If this show resonated with you, spread the word and share the link with those you care about. Remember, America, it's not just about taking in information. It's about using it to uplift our nation. I'm Gary Franchi. My goal isn't to create followers, but to inspire leaders like you. Good night.